A very good afternoon, everybody. This is the 20th of August edition of Blended Stories, the next webinar, and we're going to talk today about designing training and creating training. And there are a lot of changes afield have been happening. There's new technology, there is new insights in learning. And we're going to talk about that with our expert of the day, who is Roy de Vries. He is the learning innovator within not just aNewSpring, within the Netherlands. So we are going to ask Roy to introduce himself later on. First, there is a word of our sponsor, and this is not a secret. We are the sponsor, Emissio. I'm going to very quickly share the screen. So just to support what we're talking about. And we're talking about making more training impact. That's what Emissio does. Emissio, by the way, is Latin for blended and mixed. Blended learning is a lot of what we do, and also mixed because we are a mixed team. We have lots of different backgrounds within the team, and that's where a lot of our power comes from. See a lot of different things from different angles. You can also see Training Journals logo in the top here, which Training Journal is our media partner, not just for the webinars, but for our conference. We'll talk about that in a second further as well. With regards to what does Emissio do? We, as a business, we work with training companies. And for them is we help them with the quality of training, such as designing blended and online learning or creating that. Impact measurements and strategy, those are our positive topics, and we'll talk about those today. And there is also the quantity element. Quantity meaning we do workshops for leadership of training companies about business modeling, launching new products. Pricing strategy seems to be our most popular one, by the way. So different options as well. What we are going to next is what we then actually deliver. Learning platforms such as aNewSpring or training management systems, Arlo. We also do a lot with content. Use the content libraries that we have. We have about 4,000 courses to support learning, but also measuring training impact and the number of services. Now, our principle is really that training is a people business. We truly believe that, and technology is there to support. How do we work? We like an evidence-based approach. So we do research, universities. See on the left-hand side there, a report we did with Oxford. We write case studies with our customers. Data there on the right-hand side. But then we also like to share that research, case studies, and that's what we're doing here through blended stories like these webinars every month. We've been doing those blended stories webinars since 2022, and we will continue doing this. We also do a conference, Business of Training Conference. As you can see, it's on 17th of October in London. Here is a QR code if you want more information about that. And no surprise here, Roy is one of our speakers at this conference. So this is an excellent moment to understand what that means and what we can offer you. Now, Roy, I'm going to go to you. Please, can you introduce yourself to this audience? What is your background? What qualifies you to talk about designing and creating of training?
Yeah, thanks, JJ. Can I say JJ? Jan?
Very informal group. No, Mr. Van Delsen.
Exactly. It's an informal meeting. No, Mr. Van Delsen to you. No, thanks for having me. And I'm really looking forward to the conference on October 17th. Looking forward to meeting new people from the community and sharing knowledge, but also learning from other people who will be I will be sharing the stage with. Yeah, so my name is Roy. I currently work as a learning innovator at aNewSpring, which means that I am very busy with helping people learn, because that's sort of our motto. We do that on several levels. So we've got the learning platform, the technology that helps people learn, but we also organize events. We create content. We do workshop sessions with customers. Everything to make sure that they are busy with improving their training. We're a training improvement engine. That's what we like to see us. With the technology, but also with the content, also with the events, to make sure that people get more insights, more inspiration on making your training even better. And what makes me qualified to talk about that? That's always a very good question, of course. I did a master's at Utrecht University on educational sciences. Was trained as a primary school teacher, but while I was doing that, I already thought that, even though primary school is a very interesting field to be in, I really got attracted to the online learning part, to the online world, and got more interested in e-learning, in developing e-learning, but also working together with subject matter experts to create a beautiful course, beautiful training. And then also in learning technology, learning management systems, learning experience platforms, and other types of technology that enhance the learner experience. So during my studies, focused a bit more on that and familiarized myself with those online learning concepts and what that all entails and what it means to create and to design an online course. So after my studies, worked as an instructional designer myself for a company in the Netherlands that creates courses for the post-academic health and life sciences, which was very cool to work in. Got a lot of different subject matter experts to work with, different topics that we create courses on, and use different technologies, like different learning management systems, but also innovative technology like Dialogue Trainer. So it was very interesting to see all these different technologies and different work with these subject matter experts. And after that, I started at aNewSpring as a customer success manager, which means that I helped our customers with the implementation of the learning platform. So I got to see a whole variety of customers with all their challenges and everything that they wanted to achieve. And with my experience in online learning and my background as an educational scientist, got to help them with creating their courses and setting up their learning platform even better to make sure that their learners were learning what they had to learn, so to say. I did that for about 4 years, which I did with a lot of fun, a lot of pleasure. It was great to get a view in the kitchen, as we say in the Netherlands, in all those different companies, and to help them. And then after those 4 years, grew into the role of learning innovator, where I'll, like I said, more sharing knowledge, hosting events, but also participating in different events, on sharing our vision on learning and on the training improvement vision that we created at aNewSpring.
One of the things that fascinates me, you have been speaking about learning innovation around the world. I've seen you in America, in San Diego. I've seen you in different countries. You've been talking and working with some of our leading customers here in the UK. Do you keep track of the number of countries you've been speaking, influencing?
Well, I'm a humble Dutch guy, so it's not something I'm bragging about a lot. But of course, I've got a little notepad where I write down all those little countries. You know, those. What is it? No, it's awesome to have those opportunities and to be able to represent aNewSpring at those conferences and to be able to share our story and the cool things that we are doing. So in San Diego, for example, was amazing to be a first-time ATD visitor and also being on the stage to talk about adaptive learning and our case that we did together with BSL. Just awesome to have that opportunity and to share that knowledge. And also in Poland and in Germany and in England, yes, it's and to meet all those peers from across the world, and it's really cool to see those lasting relationships that you form. So yeah, it's really cool. Yeah.
Nice one. I think this the exact number will you be willing to share it at the bar in the networking drinks at the end of the conference? Maybe
Of
this is
course.
we can organize a quiz around this. Who has the right number?
Exactly. Yeah, and I'll buy that person with the right number of beer. Let's yeah, we'll
Nice
do
one.
that.
That's a deal. So
Yeah,
who's going to win the
definitely.
drink? Let's go to the the business part of this webinar. Um, we're talking about designing and creating future-proof training. Now, there's quite a few things in there. The first one is, what is future-proof training? And let's start with that. Is there a definition?
I think in the end, there's one big objective that everyone has when they provide training, and that's not to hear themselves speak, but to help people learn. And it's been something that I've been saying at the introduction as well, of course. You want to help people learn. You want to make sure that they get better in their job, that they get better in whatever their objective is, that they come to you to follow your training, or that makes sure that you create the training for them. So having a focus on what they need to do in their job, what they need to improve on their job, or how you, with your learning intervention, can help them improve their performance is, I think, key. So if you talk about future-proofing your training business or future-proofing your training, I think first big step is to get a clear view on why and what you're helping people with. I think that's important. And after that, I think there's a lot of well, I think it's important to educate yourself on learning theories and on evidence-based practices, because those are around for a reason. They've been researched, backed by research on how people learn, and making sure that you apply those strategies, really make sure that people get something out of the training, that the training sticks, that that learning is being retained. So I think for now, having a clear view on who your target audience is, what they want to achieve, and then also keeping those evidence-based strategies while designing your training at the forefront are two key elements. But of course, I'm also very curious. It's not just about myself talk. Also curious. We're with a lot of learning professionals in this room. If there's any additions or other things that people think are important when we talk about future-proof. But those would be my for now 2 important takes.
And thank you for opening that up. Indeed, this is not a talking to. This is not these blended stories. People who have attended our webinars before, and I know there are several of you on the call right now. This is an open forum. If you have a question, if you have something to share relating to the topic, please do. There's room for lots of voices.
Yeah, absolutely.
Actually, we have a question. And a few questions. The first question, how to define future-proof, we talked about already. The second question is from Mohammed. How do you design training curriculum for technology? And technology is changing every day. So is that a question we can do something with, or do we need a bit more identification from Mohammed?
The audience card? No, I'm kidding. No, I think it's a very interesting question, because it means that if you create content regarding this specific topic, it means that your content will be outdated quite quickly. So if I look back at my own instructional design career, when I started off, we really had this waterfall method. And I've actually been reading something from Russ Garner from Mind Tools yesterday, who also talked about that waterfall method and how they designed courses in the past. And what you did was that you started analyzing the whole situation, and then you talked with your subject matter experts. They gave their views, and then you went to your own cage again, and you started working on those, on the design, and you started developing all these interesting resources. And then after 2 or 3 months, you were done, and you could go back to your subject matter expert, say, "Hey, here's the course that you asked for, that I created." But then, by that time, it's already, well, a couple of months passed. Maybe priorities changed, content topics changed. So using that sort of old way of designing courses, the old way of thinking about delivering a product through the waterfall method, can make sure that, especially in this day and age when technology is changing every day, your content, your training will become obsolete quite quickly. So at first, I think in taking a more iterative approach is important. Being able to be flexible. So I think we've all heard about ADDIE, the analysis, design, develop, implement, evaluation framework. But now there's also SAM, which is a model that has more iterative cycles built in, so that with every stage, instead of asking for a go and then going to the next one, you just do this iterative cycle, and you also go back to the design again where you develop, just to make sure that constantly what you're doing is still the right thing. But then, if we do that, at the end, you still have an end product that is maybe after 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks outdated. So next to adopting this iterative mindset and being able to adapt to current developments, I think there's other strategies and things you can think of when it comes to creating sustainable courses for those ever-changing topics. So one of the things, if you work more cohort-based, is to do more of a research-based kind of approach, experiential learning, that instead of you providing all the content, you give them guidelines where the students themselves are presenting things, are researching specific topics. So that generative AI is hot, but instead of listing all these different tools that are available, go and ask your students to search for the 5 hottest AI tools at the moment and give us a short explanation on what they do, for example. That's an assignment or sort of a learning activity that you can implement in your course that can be that's sort of timeless, because for every course, every new group of learners, there's a different outcome for that activity, while the goal is the same. You want them to get more experience with those tools, for example. So try to look at your learning activities in such a way that it's that you can sort of reuse them, even though the technology is changing, and think about what you want them to know, want them to learn, and design your activities towards that.
Is that you mentioned a few processes there, ABI, SAM, some tools. Are there particular tools that are really popular for this, or is this such a moving market right now? It's not everywhere. Is there a steady market? How does that work?
I didn't get the last part of your question. Sorry, because
Sorry,
your microphone didn't work.
there are so many new technologies popping up, and that also means a lot of new tools coming in, certainly with AI-driven tools. Are there tools that you still think are really the best ones to design and create content, or is it very much a moving market right
now? I think it's definitely a moving market, even though there's some of the evidence-based strategies I was talking about date from years ago is still the same. How people learn is still sort of doesn't necessarily change a lot, but of course, yes, there's technology that influences that whole process, and I think what you see currently with a lot of these tools, and then, well, let me define these tools. So one of the tools that I'm thinking about are authoring tools, for example. So tools to create e-learning, tools to create content and learning activities. A lot of them are very busy with implementing AI in their solutions to, well, I think for the most part, to make it easier for designers to go ahead and create courses. I think that's an important one. And on the other hand, there's platforms that are making it easier to translate content, which has always been a very difficult thing, of course, in the past. But I really like what Filippo Hartmann is doing at this point. Thanks, Matt, by the way. No worries. I really like what Filippo Hartmann is doing, and she stated that online learning is broken. So, the way that we've been doing things in the past aren't necessarily leading to the results that we're aiming for. So why should we then implement AI to keep on doing that same thing and not using AI to help us making it better, the whole process? So what you see happening is that even more content is being generated, whereas we all know that if you just start creating content, it doesn't necessarily help for learning. Of course, content is important, but just creating content isn't the way to go. You have to also look at the different activities that you're going to create around that content, and the whole strategy and model that you're adopting in your training. And she is currently very busy with making sure that AI is also supporting you for instructional design practices. So not just generating content or generating questions, but from the start, if we look at the aNewSpring framework again, looking at the analysis phase, looking at the design phase, how can AI help you to create better courses instead of just creating what we've already done? And I think looking at that, there's not a lot of tools that really help you with that specific part. There's a lot of tools, AI supported tools that help you with the development. And I think that will become even more and more. And at some point, it's of such a quality that other platforms who are not adapting to that will lose customers and lose traction. I think so. Yes, it's definitely an ever-changing market, right?
Yeah. Oh, well, very much, and we see the same. Interesting developments. You did mention Philip Hartmann and Ross Gardner. I put both of the names in the chat for people who are interested. Ross Gardner does a great podcast. He's been doing this for years. Great name to follow.
Exactly. I always envy that longevity of people keeping up with this podcast for hundreds of episodes. Yeah.
Yeah. Dr. Philip Hartmann once told me that this is about a year ago, how AI changes the development and the design of content, training content. And she was talking about this story that she worked with an insurance company who wanted to do internal training. Now, insurance companies particularly have a lot of internal documents, so courses are created from that. And a previous process would have taken 9 months to develop a course. Team, I went out there, found subject matter experts, designed the training, identified the audience, etc., etc., etc. She created a prompt with an AI tool, and she told me it took 44 seconds to have the content ready. That doesn't mean it's a course, but how do you go from the good part of a year designing and creating content to, let's call it minutes, even days to create a course? It means that it gets so much easier, it gets so much quicker. There must be both a threat and an opportunity in that. Roy, what do you see mistakes that people make within this process?
I think the biggest mistake is that people rely on that technology too much. Of course, it helps, and like you said, instead of making that it takes you half a year or 9 months, it can be 44 seconds. But I'm always a bit hesitant when I hear like 44 seconds. Is it any good? I think, you know, that output can be good, but it needs to be controlled and checked by someone who is a subject matter expert, especially at this stage. I think we're all familiar with the technology coming up with things that are not necessarily true or relevant because of the way that you prompted or because of the way that you've asked your certain things. Of course, that also gets better every time, but it's still essential to check what you've been doing and to use your own knowledge and experience to check everything that's being created. I myself see it also more as sort of a brainstorm partner, something that can help me structure thoughts, something that can help me with just getting over sort of a dead point, you know. At some point you're just stuck. You don't really need maybe loss of creativity or loss of inspiration. And then the AI can help you to ignite that fire a little bit again. And I think that's the same when it comes to this 44-second course. It can help you to create ideas, to brainstorm, but in the end, I think it's still you as a person that has to sort of put it all together and create something that really fits your target audience. Yeah, so it's interesting times to be an instructional designer at the moment. That's for sure.
Oh, that's for sure. Yes, there are so
Yeah.
many developments in this. We have a question from, is it Sinead? What are the best tools you have seen for designing immersive learning using simulations? I'm going to ask Sinead. Sinead, would you be okay to unmute and maybe give us the example of what you're designing, the situation that you have?
Sure, yeah. Hi, everybody. Sinead here.
Hi, Sinead. Thank you for coming on.
No worries. Good attempt at pronouncing my name. Well done. Yeah, this is just an area for us that we're looking at in terms of trying to make our training as real as possible and as true to life as possible. So we've really just started looking at it to see what's out there, what companies are providing that type of experience. We're not technology experts, we're subject matter experts. So any insights that you would have on that? You know, putting the learner into, you know, a typical use case, I guess, you know, a very obvious use case would be customer service, where you're dealing with a very nasty customer and how you deal with that. But, you know, that's just one use case. You could look at the static training for how to do that, but as everybody knows, there's nothing like being in the situation. Right. And we're not really talking here about VR headsets, because I think that's just too cumbersome and unworkable and something that needs to be mobile enabled. So if you had any thoughts on that, would love to hear.
I'm going to ask Roy first to respond to that, but I'm also going to, we talked about community earlier. I also would like to invite other people on the call to see if they've had experience with this. So, Roy, please.
Well, I was actually a couple of weeks ago, I was at a potential partnership with a company that creates those VR immersive simulations, which was very, very interesting because you really got to go into this conversation. You went into a room, you saw a person, it was all video recorded, and you got to choose the options on what to say, and then you saw how the video played in and sort of in the branching scenario, which was a really interesting experience to see how VR and how this immersive part adds to the learning experience. but I totally agree with what you're saying, Sinead. It's they are developing these standard solutions. They're currently not thinking about custom solutions because it's just way too expensive and way too time costly to create all those different scenarios for a specific customer. So we're currently not there yet. If you then sort of look at other options when it comes to designing simulations, of course, having the more sort of flat simulations are a bit more accessible. So actually one of the things that I just mentioned is a company from the Netherlands who've been working on these sort of dialogues called Dialogue Trainer, in which you can create, you talk with an avatar in a certain situation, and they create this branching scenario about a conversation that really feels like a conversation, but also has well thought out questions and answers, so that it can also give you feedback on why you chose something that was right or that was wrong. And just now I came from a meeting with a customer who implemented meta skills, which is, well, I'm from the Netherlands and also a Netherlands-based company, but I'm sure there's something similar happening in the UK, which is a AI-powered tool that also has sort of a prompt behind it and an avatar. And you can speak to it and it will listen to what you say and it will respond to you and you can respond to that, so they have a real conversation. So when you talk about customer service, I think that's really cool. And then, I mean, I haven't seen the back end of this particular tool, but I can imagine it has a prompt and it acts on what you say to also guide you in sort of a certain scenario. So that's another level of simulations. But I think that having well thought out branching scenarios and questions and creating that using a tool like Articulate Storyline or any other authoring tool, I think even H5P can do that as well. Branching scenarios can also get you into this conversation feel. But of course, yeah, if you use AI that really tailors to what you're saying, and if you use VR, it's different levels. But starting out with those branching scenarios and could already be a good way to go. I know there's one person in the United States, Christy Tucker, who's someone to follow when it comes to branching scenarios. I think this is her name. I'll double check in a moment. She gives really good insights about how to design and develop those scenarios, and probably also some extra tips and tricks. But yeah, I think overall, start small. Think about what you want to achieve, and yeah, it will be a case of exploring the market as well. But I hope there's also some fun in that to see what everyone has to offer.
Yeah, it is great fun. The problem is you can waste days just having fun on this stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. No,
thank you, Roy. That's great. Thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Nice one. Thank you. And thanks, Sinead, for the question. Is there anybody else in this group that has experience with immersive solutions or relationships? Not right now. That's fine. Right. Let's go to our next level within this conversation, which is on design and creation. Quite often I've seen that designers and creating that is done by the same people. However, a lot of other organizations and kind of separate out the roles. Do you feel that that should be separated, or do you think that the same people can actually do the same role?
And you mean the designing and creation of a training, of a course?
Yeah. Is it different? Are they really different skills?
I think there's different skills that you need for every part, and that's, I think, why the role of an instructional designer is also so such a big variation in it, because you need that that skill set. When I was an instructional designer myself, I worked a lot with the subject matter experts, because I'm not a subject matter expert on health and life sciences. So I was really dependent on those subject matter experts to tell me what was important and what wasn't important. But they also needed me to guide them in what was important, if you know what I mean. So to them, everything is important and everything should be in a course, but it was my job also to keep track of, all right, so, but what is really important to learners? What I really ought to know, and how does it link together, and how can it make sense to someone who doesn't understand this topic? Because to someone who sees it all, it can be very, very clear, but to someone who's just starting in a certain topic, it can be quite daunting. So it was my job to make sure to tone them down a little bit, those subject matter experts, but also translate those the things that they wanted to learn to the students in this case, to translate those into didactical good activities and learning interventions. So that was when I look at the design part, especially when you work with subject matter experts, I think that's a very important skill, to be able to translate what they are saying, what they want to do, to good didactical training. And once you have that structure, once you know what the most important learning objectives are, what your learning interventions will be, I think another skill set comes into play, and that is creating the content and creating the learning interventions that you've thought of. And I don't think there's, well, if there is, please, I'm curious to meet that person who has all the skills to create both the videos and the images and the learning activities and the texts, and create everything with the right tools. So I think you are, well, some people have to have that role themselves, but I think it also asks for a pretty specific skill set to be able to do the creation of that e-learning. On the other hand, of course, we've just talked about tools. I think there's a lot of tools that are currently helping you as well to create that content and to create videos, to create instructions. So then you are still more guiding the whole process. When I was creating courses, I had a studio with a camera guy who then edited those videos for hours on end, and it cost our customers a couple of €1,000 to have all these edited videos. And if I look back at what we had back then and what I can do now with Synthesia myself, for example, if I have the right scripts, it's not the same, but it's pretty damn close. So I think it is changing, but yeah, I think you still cannot beat people that are professionals in those areas.
Nice one.
Yeah.
We have another question from the audience. Keyur asks, what do you think will be the biggest change training methods over in the next future, in the next 5 years? What is there a particular change, or will the process always be the same?
Yeah, curious what you mean with training methods. Is it about because we were talking about design and creation, or is it the way people learn, interventions that we design for people? So what do you can I ask you, what do you mean with training methods? And I'm also curious to hear from the people in this call, of course, if they have any insights from their own perspective, what they think will be a big change. I mean, yeah, we've just touched upon VR, which I think we've been talking about for I don't know, 10, 15 years already. It's progressing, but still not there. Of course, we've also been talking about AI for 10, 15 years. Well, that took a big leap last year, but yeah, it's it's always difficult to say what it's really gonna do on the long term when it comes to impact, or is it more of a hype, or is it really something that has a sustainable impact on the industry? As I just mentioned, there are definitely some theories that are grounded in research that will not change soon. You know, when we think about, for example, the space learning theory, we know that people learn better when you space out over time, for example. So I don't think that we will have a training method in which we will make sure that everyone can remember everything within a one-day training. It's just not the case. So we will have to spread things out over time. I also find it a very interesting conversation on, do we actually still need knowledge in the future because it's around everywhere, because we can just ask everything? But in my opinion, you need to know quite a lot before you can ask the right questions. So there's still going to be quite some things people have to know or have to learn, and also when it comes to skilling, reskilling, upskilling, and changing jobs, you know, people have to be able to learn and to apply certain knowledge in their own way, in their own field. And like I said, there are learning theories, learning that are proven and will not change in the foreseeable future. I do think that there are technologies that will be able to support learners even better and make it even easier for people to learn or to gain a certain skill.
Exactly, and that's where technology comes in. Spaced repetition as a method is acknowledged as a way of, well, making the learning better, but technology can help that make it easier to implement it. Now,
exactly,
we are nearing the end of our webinar.
Time flies when you're having fun.
This goes way too fast. But I don't want to extend the webinar because people want to have a sandwich now. It's still lunchtime. With regards to the end of this webinar, but we are talking about this more. We are sharing more practical elements within the conference that's going to come up. The conference is on the 17th of October. It's in the Royal Horse Guards Hotel. If you don't know where that is, it's in the middle of London in Whitehall. Churchill had an office there, and it was one of the first buildings where actually what is now MI5 was. So it's a building with history. It's also looking to the future. That's why I like that venue. With regards to conference, we have plenty of opportunities to see more about that. I'd like to thank Roy, thank everybody for being in the call, sharing with us and learning from everybody. Roy, any last words from you?
Well, if people are interested in learning more, we've got an event coming up on September 5th. So before October 17th, put the link in the chat. It's together with Lauren Waldman. So feel free to sign up. We're talking about the brain and about learning. So that's going to be cool. And apart from that, thanks everyone for the attention. And of course, I hope to see you in London on October 17th. That would be great.